Hey everyone, it is Sunday, the 2nd of March, 2025. It is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 minutes to 2 Pacific time. And as I talked about, and everybody's been talking about since last night, John Cena finally did something he had not done in about 22 years, a little over 22 years, and that is he became a heel. That's right. He became a heel for the first time since about, I would say, late 2022, late 2022. He mid to late, I should say mid to late 2022. He basically sold his soul in story to The Rock. And what's interesting about this is a lot of people, they're still talking about it and everything, and they're a little surprised, a little shocked that WWE actually went through with it. But what a lot of people have been pointing out, and justifiably so, is this is a different regime. Remember what they said last year at WrestleMania. They said this is a Triple H era of WWE. And this era is a lot more different than Vince McMahon's. Because if Vince McMahon was still in charge, there's no way he would let this happen. Even if Rock... Let me put it this way. If Vince McMahon was still around, even if he was part of the board of directors at TKO, and Rock was there as well, there is no way that even with Vince there, they would do this. Because Vince would have pull maybe a little bit more than Rock. And basically, he would tell Rock, we're not doing it. He would tell John, we're not doing it. He would tell Hunter, we're not doing it. Even though Hunter is in charge, Hunter and his team, with the assistance of Rock and his team at times, they are in charge of creative, mostly Triple H. Vince, being who he is, like I said, would have had probably a little bit more stock in TKO, a little bit more say, and he'd be like, not going to happen. And basically, you'd be wondering, okay, well, what are we going to do, as far as the main event, if John's going to go over in the chamber, but we're not going to turn him heel? Vince probably would have came up with a reason of, hey, it'll generate more business if it's babyface against babyface. Pass it to the torch, da-da-da. It's WrestleMania 6 all over again. And that might be fine. That might be fine in the eyes of some, but, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work because you're basically, in the eyes of a lot of people, if you're going that route, you're just having John Cena facing himself. John Cena passing the torch to himself or to a future version of himself. And that's not going to work. What you need is a John Cena that, yeah, he's going to pass the torch, but he's going to teach you a lesson in respect. And that respect, basically, is you appreciate who's here when they're here, you let them be who they are, and you accept it. That's basically what this is going to be with John. John, yeah, he'll come out in defeat eventually when he goes back to being a babyface, and he'll acknowledge, look, I was desperate, but now I realize that, hey, this is a new generation of talent. It's not my time anymore. I just need to be here to help support this talent, get them over for you guys and for the future of the company. That will probably be John Cena's speech, his promo after, he goes back to being a babyface. But the one question I asked last night, and it's a question I'm sure not everybody asked, is how long will this heel run go? And I said at the latest would be SummerSlam, and that all depends on how they close out WrestleMania with him. Because if they're planning to put number 17 on John, then to me, if you don't want WrestleMania to end on a downer note, if you don't want that to happen, then you have John Cena win on night 1. And then on night 2, you have Jey Uso close out all of WrestleMania as the new World Heavyweight Champion. That's the only way I think it would work, in my opinion. You have Jey Uso, close out WrestleMania weekend by becoming World Heavyweight Champion. You put emphasis on the World Heavyweight Championship as being very important, and you showcase Gunther as being, basically being the guy that is going to be a future world champion, a future WWE champion for years to come once again. And you put emphasis on how important, he is as a talent. But with that said, and let me get some coffee here. With that said, if you're not planning to put the belt on Cena at WrestleMania, then you close it out with Cody winning the match. But the question is, again, going back to it, I should say, is how long will it last? The heel turn. And like I said, the latest would be SummerSlam if they have John go over at WrestleMania. But if they don't have him go over, then the latest I see that's going to will be till WrestleMania. And I've mentioned that on social media. I said I do not think this is going to last, any longer than WrestleMania. Because think about it this way. Why all of a sudden is John wanting to go heel, right? There's got to be a reason. One, storyline-wise, he's desperate because he's being fed a bunch of BS by certain individuals like The Rock. Which maybe in story he knows is BS, but he's going along with it because obviously he sees that the person that really wants that championship is The Rock. If you know what I mean. So, to me, you can ask the question, why is he acting so heelish all of a sudden and all that? It's basically all part of the story. I mean, Rock broke character last night during the press conference, and said it himself that it's about story that's been building. It's about long-term planning, long-term gaming and all that with him, Hunter, and their teams. And that's true. The subtle hints he gave at Bad Blood and, John acting the way he did at the Rumble, at the Rumble press conference and all that. His reaction to being eliminated by Jay. It's all long-term planning. That's what it is. It's all long-term planning. And we don't know. Part of that long-term planning is just to have John Cena be a heel for, only a month or so to get him to WrestleMania to basically pass the torch to Cody as the face and the franchise, of WWE. Basically pass the torch to him. And then maybe, as I alluded to in the audio video last night, as I alluded to then, maybe, have it be revealed, that in story, Rock got outsmarted by Cody again. Because, again, if you want to do long-term planning, you want to get to Rock and Cody, probably SummerSlam, Royal Rumble next year or whatever, and then Roman and Rock, then part of that storytelling, one of the chapters has to be Rock getting outsmarted for the second year in a row. And what better way to do that than to have John Cena, who doesn't like being this way, doesn't like having to sell his soul, letting Cody know about this offer, and then Cody telling him, play along with it. Go along with it. Make, Rock, make Dwayne think he's won and everything. Play along with it. Just, go along, just make him think everything's in his favor, and then when he least expects it, we pull the rug out from under him. And that could happen too. And I don't know if anybody's looking at that as well as a possibility. Basically, a conclusion. I'm trying to find the right word to say. A conclusion to this chapter, to this second act of the entire story arc. Between Rock and Cody and by extension Roman and John and all them. Because I want to make this clear too. In my opinion, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels this way or shares this opinion, but in my opinion, John is just a bit player here. He's just a supporting player in this entire thing. He is a supporting actor in this entire story arc, where the main actors, the main players are Rock and Cody, and by extension Roman. John is in a supporting role right now. And that supporting role is to act like the corporate sellout who, when it's all said and done, will possibly reveal to The Rock at the end of Mania, if it goes that long with this heel turn, will probably reveal to The Rock that he was played again. That Cody was in on this the entire time, and that for the second year in a row, Cody had outsmarted The Rock, because John had let him in on what was happening, and it was Cody's idea for him to just go along with it, make it look legit and as real as possible, so that come WrestleMania, second year in a row, Rock gets outsmarted, gets the rug pulled out from under him, and it sends a message to The Rock that, hey, it sends a message to The Rock from Cody, and even John by extension, but mostly Cody, that, hey, you want this title off me, Rock? Do it yourself. Do it yourself. Get in the ring and do it yourself. And that will probably lead to a match at SummerSlam, if not Rumble at the latest, which would then lead in conjunction to a match between Roman and Rock. So, there are those layers, there are layers, I should say, to it, and those are those layers. Easy for me to say. Like I said, there are layers to the storytelling here that we as fans can only speculate and theorize based on what we see, but only, Rock and Hunter and Brian Gertz and John Cena and Cody Rhodes and anybody else involved on their end of the spectrum know about. I mean, if you believe anything that Fightful or, PW Insider or anybody says about, the aftermath of what happened last night and what they're hearing, you got to take that with a grain of salt. I mean, yeah, Fightful and PW Insider and WrestleVotes, they might get, some of the information more right than wrong at times. But the truth is they don't know exactly everything. I mean, even Fightful, I think, to even get to the point that, hey, we're just telling you what we heard. We can't really confirm that what we're hearing is true because things are so, so held close to the vest, as of late within WWE. So even they don't know exactly when certain changes were made. I mean, according to what they said they heard initially, the whole Rock and Cody promo or segment was supposed to take place in the middle of the show, but from what they're hearing, that was done purposely to throw people off so that basically word wouldn't get out wouldn't get out to the talent until I guess an hour before the show, or it wouldn't get out to the talent until maybe that day, or before, as they're arriving into the building. To me, when I hear Fightful and others saying that they heard that this was done eternally on purpose, maybe it was, to where obviously the segment was last, not in the middle, because what sense would have that made? I mean, the only way it would have made sense is if they would have done the men's elimination chamber first, had John Cena come out in the middle of the show, then do that. Then do the angle there. But then again, if you did the angle then, it would take away from the women's elimination chamber and whatever other matches that came afterwards. So basically, when you hear, Fightful and PW Insider and WrestleVotes saying that this is what they heard about initially on the paper, on the rundown sheet, it was listed as middle of the show, but it was done to throw people off because it was going to be the last one. Yeah, there is believability to that, there's no doubt. But how much believability, you have to ask yourself, and I think even they have to ask themselves, how much believability is there to that as being true? Only one can guess. Because a lot of things are held so close to the vest right now that only a few things, will get out that, Triple H and Rock and others will allow out because they know, well, it's going to be obvious to folks what's going on. So why not just go this route with it for now, but then maybe add a little twist to it, if you know what I'm saying. But, when it comes to the whole, when it comes to this whole heel turn with John Cena, again, nobody knows what the long-term goal is, for this. Again, I believe, in my theory and speculation as a fan, is that this is only, at the latest, it's going to go to SummerSlam. That's what I look at. But if I was to go with an early, if not exact time frame, speculating as a fan, I would say WrestleMania. Because to me, and I said this last night, and I think others have made this comparison too. To me, it's very similar to when Shawn Michaels super kicked Hulk Hogan on Raw. Why did he do that? Why did he turn heel? Why did he act heelish for that month going into the match at SummerSlam? Because Hogan was still viewed as the babyface, and if he was going to work SummerSlam, I should say, you needed him to face a heel. And people always wanted to see Shawn Michaels against Hulk Hogan. And this was being at a time where Vince, thankfully, had not lost his marbles yet. We don't know when he lost his marbles or anything, or when he really started to get out of touch. But this was at a time, where Vince realized, okay, fans want this match. How do we get to it? And this was at a time when he realized, well, we can't have babyface against babyface. That wouldn't make no sense. And Vince, again, hadn't lost his marbles yet, but Hogan was still viewed as a babyface every time, even when he came back out. People still unanimously cheered him. So, so what do you do to get around that? Oh, take the guy that's been a heel multiple times before, make him heel again, even if it's only for a month. And that's what they did. And I'm sure Shawn Michaels had a say in it. Shawn Michaels said, okay, fine, I'll be a heel, but I'm not going to be a heel for the rest of the year or rest of my career. I want to be a babyface again. And that's what happened. He became a babyface a month after and started feuding with the Masterpiece. And a lot of people make the comparison of John Cena going heel here as being very, very similar. But the catch obviously would be, if they do this, if they go this route, and again, I'm just speculating as a fan, theorizing as a fan, if they go this route with this heel turn that only goes up to Mania, I could see, as I mentioned earlier, I could see it being revealed that Rock got outsmarted again by Cody because John let Cody in on what was happening since Bad Blood. And essentially, since that moment, Cody has been meticulously planning on how to, basically embarrass The Rock again at WrestleMania. Because you got to remember, last year, yes, Rock beat Cody clean in the middle of the ring during the tag match on night 1. But what happened on night 2? Cody was prepared for what was going to happen. He was ready for what was going to happen. He had a backup plan. He had a backup plan in Jimmy Uso. He had a backup plan in Seth Rollins. He had a backup plan, in John Cena, ironically. He had a backup plan in The Undertaker. So all this had been, all this basic, all that momentum, I should say, that Rock had from night 1 going into night 2, thinking, okay, in story, he's got the advantage over Cody. Cody's not going to walk out with the championship. Cody, again, was prepared. He was ready. He had outsmarted Rock. He had outsmarted Roman. He knew what was coming. He knew what was coming. And now, basically, ladies and gentlemen, you got a situation to where, once again, you could be having Rock. And again, we don't know. Only he and Triple H and Gertz and Cena and Cody know this. But you could have a situation right now to where maybe and again, just speculating as a fan, just theorizing as a fan, they could have a plan, part of the long-term story planning in gaming, as Rock calls it, long-term planning in gaming. The way Rock puts it, part of it could be, and again, just speculating as a fan, Rock is going to allow himself to be outsmarted again, and this is going to build to him and Cody finally having a match, maybe SummerSlam, maybe in SummerSlam in Detroit. We don't know. We don't know. I think it's Detroit, right? I think it's in Detroit. Hold on. No, it's not. It's not Detroit. It's MetLife Stadium in New Jersey on the first weekend of August. In the first weekend of August, that's what it sounds like to me. On the first weekend of August, it will be, on that day. Yeah. Saturday, August 2nd and Sunday, August 3rd. So you have basically SummerSlam, and to me, this could lead to it. This could lead to that event. Now, if you want to take the belt off Cody at that time, you could do it either by Rock beating him on night 2 of SummerSlam, and then holding the belt to at least Survivor Series, maybe Royal Rumble at the latest. Or you could have Cody beat Rock at SummerSlam, in story have Rock beat down on Cody, and then have whoever the Money in the Bank winner is come down and cash in on Cody. There you go. And by doing so, you put importance not only on the briefcase itself, but you also put importance, essentially, you put importance, if you will, essentially, on the person that cashed in. Because you're involving them in the storyline as we speak. Even if it's only temporary, you're involving them in the storyline and you're making them out to be a big, big deal. So there's a lot of things that they could do, to get to Rock and Cody. And I think part of the idea could be, and again, just mere speculating, mere theorizing on my part as a fan, that the way they can do it is to have Rock get outsmarted. Rock, again, could allow, as part of this, chapter, part of this act of the overarching story arc between him and Cody, and by extension Roman, because we got to get there. You could have, basically Cody, outsmart The Rock. Rock could have it planned out, that Cody outsmarts him, gets revealed that him and Cena are in cahoots, and that Cena alerted Cody about the situation, back at, after Bad Blood, and that's it. And, if that's the direction they go, that's going to be great too, because then you can have Rock be more determined to be like, okay, fine, Cody, you want me to take, because what I look at too is you could have Cody tell Rock as he's laying down in the ring after being fooled again and being laid out with a crossroads and an attitude adjustment. If they go this route, you can have Cody look down on him and say, "You want this belt? You want me to lose this title? You want me out of this company? Do it yourself. Get in the ring, do it yourself." And that could be Rock's cue on the Raw after Mania. It could be his cue on the Raw after Mania to come out and say, "Okay, Cody, you want me to do it myself? Fine." He said, "I'll do it myself." And it doesn't. And you can even have him say, "Look, it doesn't have to be for the championship because I don't know if you'll be champion by then. Circumstances could happen. Certain things can happen." So you can have him play up the fact that, hey, you never know. We don't know if you'll be champion or not. Something might happen. But you could have him basically say that, no matter what the circumstance is, whether it's for the title or not, if Cody wants him to end him by himself, he wants him to do the deed himself, then fine. And then you can have him, basically make the match official for night 2 of SummerSlam. And there you go. Off to the races you go. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm not saying that WrestleMania will be the night that this heel turn with John Cena comes to an end. Again, like I said, it could go to SummerSlam at the latest. Or they could drag this all the way out to his last match, if you will. Or his last month, in the company, in the business. They could do that. I mean, one example I used last night in the audio video, if you're watching on YouTube, the one thing I used last night as an example was Josh Alexander. Now, he didn't retire, but for a majority of his final year in TNA, he was a heel. However, he didn't go out as a heel. He wanted to go out as a babyface. And that's what he did. In defeat, he went out as a babyface. So, when you look at that as a kind of a strange comparison. You could look at the same thing with John Cena. All depending on how long they go with this. Because if they only go with it till WrestleMania, then I could see John wanting to redeem himself over the next year by going up against anybody that, let's say, in story, The Rock might have him go up against, or in story, whoever would side with The Rock and wanting to get even with John for basically being part of this whole hoax that him and Cody pulled over The Rock's head. So they could do, that's something that could happen too. Or if they drag it out only to SummerSlam, then you could use the rest of the year to do that as well. If you know what I'm saying. But if they decide, okay, we're going to take it up to at least Survivor Series, and then after Survivor Series, you decide, okay, December, we're going to have John, basically go out as a good guy, you could do that too. Because again, you want this guy to basically, have his final run in the company to be memorable. And yeah, there's no doubt you got to put his 17th title on him if you want to, but it doesn't have to happen at WrestleMania. It doesn't have to happen at WrestleMania because the one thing I mentioned last night, and I have to correct myself on this, is a majority of the WrestleManias we have always had the good guy end the show on top. Always good. It's always been good triumphing over evil in some way. It's always been that way. From WrestleMania 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to an extent because of Hogan coming out and beating Yokozuna in the impromptu match. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. For 15 years up to that point, the good guy always won. Good always triumphed over evil, right? The only exception is when they decided to test the waters and go the opposite direction and hold off until a later date. The only exceptions after 15 were 16 and 17. 16, they decided to wait a month, and they gave it to The Rock at Backlash. Okay, fine. 17, they made the dumb decision to do what they did with Austin, which even Austin regrets. But then after that, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, okay, 26, as far as I know. 27, I think, has been another exception with The Miz, winning, but then that was helped to build to 28 with Rock and Cena. 28, 29, I think maybe 26. I'm not sure. Let me look at the WrestleManias here, guys. Let me look at the WrestleManias here. Hold on. Let me look at the WrestleManias. Hold on. I know a little silence there. I do apologize. Hold on. Let me check something. Let me check something, guys. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Okay. So, let me see. Here's the results. All right. So, the only exceptions, like I said, up till about 27, were basically, because every other show, you always had good triumph. You always had the ultimate babyface, depending on how fans felt about him, winning, right? So, okay, so I'm going to make sure. So, 16, 17, 27, because that was only meant to set up for the next year, WrestleMania. 31, because that's when Seth Rollins cashed in. 31, I guess you could say 32, 33, in a sense, if you want to look at it that way. 34 is another exception. So 17, 16, 27, and 31 and 34. Okay. 35, 36, because that's when they started doing 2 nights. 37 for night 1 only. 38 for night 1 only. 39, night 1 only. And 40, night 2. So, when you think about it, this is 40 WrestleManias we just went through, right? So, you're looking at 16, 17. I'm trying to make sure I get this all right here. You're looking at 16, 17, as I'm scrolling through here. 16, 17, let's see, 27, 31, 34, see, 37 night 1, 38 night 1, 39 night 1, and 40 night 2. So basically, out of those full events, before they went the 2-night route, you had 16, 17, 27, 31, and 34. Okay, 16, 17, 27, 31, 34. 5 WrestleManias there. And then when you count, basically, 37, night 2. 38, night 2. And 39, night 2. And then 40, night 1. You could say, in a sense, that you had from night 2 both night twos of 37 and 38. That's a night. You can count that as one big event, right? So you could say, okay, you had 16, 17, 27, 31, 34, 37, 38, which is combined together on both night twos on both night twos, 6. And then you could say night 2 and night 1 of 39 and 40, you could say 7. So basically combined, you had 7 out of 40 WrestleManias where the heel closed out the show on top. 7. You had 33, a majority of those. 33, a majority of the WrestleManias. 33 WrestleManias was always ended with the babyface winning. That was it. You combine, even when you combine, like I said, the separate nights, when it went 2-night events, you combine both those nights from both years, night 2 and night 2, night 2 and night 1, and so on. 7 WrestleManias in total are the only times the heel went over. The heel closed out the show. This year, yes, I admit, they have an opportunity to close out WrestleMania for the 9th time in a row with the heel going over. They do. I'm not denying that. But, here's the thing. Triple H is not Vince McMahon. The only reason Cody did not win at 39, wasn't because Triple H said, nah, I'm not going to let you win this year. I'm going to wait till next year. No. The reason he did not have Cody win at 39 was because Vince showed up and took over. That's a fact. And everybody that has talked about it since then knows that. That it was Vince that waltzed back into the company, took back over control, and said, we're not going to have Cody win because Roman needs to be on top because that's best for business. Yes, the money with the gimmick is so good. And that's what happened. Let's be honest. That's what happened. You can deny it all you want. If you will. You can deny it all you want. The truth is, Vince, in my opinion, caused Cody to lose. Because all signs were pointing, coming back from injury and all that, Cody winning. Okay? Do you think they wanted Cody to go back-to-back at Royal Rumble wins? No. I don't even think Cody, in my opinion as a fan, I don't think Cody wanted to do back-to-back wins. But it happened. All because Vince McMahon screwed things up. Let's be honest with that, folks. Fightful and PW Insider on WrestleVotes, all due respect to them, could say otherwise. The truth is Vince McMahon caused the change to happen. You know it and I know it. So the way I look at it, ever since Triple H has taken over fully, he's only given the heels one night to succeed. And if it connects into the following night, that's the reason. We don't have that this year. Not unless they decide to add it at the last moment. We don't have that this year. What we have right now in front of us, what I believe is going to be your two closed out, is going to be your two main events that are going to close out the show. Night 1, Jey Uso, Gunther. Night 2, Cody and John. And like I said, you can have that reversed. Because if they want to give John 17 at WrestleMania and keep this heel turn going till SummerSlam, there you go. Have him win it on night 1. And then, to make people go home happy, have Jey Uso win the world title on night 2. That's the only way that's the only thing that makes sense in my opinion. But if this heel turn is only till WrestleMania, and Cody goes over and it gets exposed to The Rock that he got outsmarted again, and this is all part of their long-term plan, which again, I'm only speculating as a fan, then you end WrestleMania Night 2 with Cody winning. End of story. But we'll have to see. Remember, I also guys want you to think about this. Drew McIntyre said to John Cena, I'm going to end your career at the Chamber. Drew can't do that if John's a heel. He can do that, though, if he's a face. Because Rock's going to want to send people after John and Cody for outsmarting him, right? What better way to do that? What better way to do that than to send someone like Drew after him? Just saying. Just saying. But, again, I look at it this way. Triple H is not going to have WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas end on a somber note. He's not going to have it end on a sour note. He's going to want people to go home happy. He's going to want people to know that they got their money's worth and that they got what they wanted. And honestly, a lot of folks, whether they want to admit it or not, they want to see that torch get passed from John Cena. My finger just hit the mic there. I do apologize. They're going to want to see that torch get passed from John Cena to Cody Rhodes. They're going to want to see that. End of discussion. They're going to want to see it. They're going to want to see him pass the torch to Cody Rhodes. You know it. I know it. And they're also going to want to say Jey Uso beat Gunther. Now, that kind of makes things interesting too, because you can't have... You got to kind of balance it. You got to have evil win in one night, and you got to have good win the next night. So, it kind of makes things a little like, unbalanced if you go both routes. But then again, that's not an issue either. That's not an issue either, because you can do that. It's worked before. You can do that. But, but the way it has to be done afterwards is going to be, it's definitely going to be interesting the way it's done afterwards. Because, again, if they want to go till SummerSlam, if not until maybe Survivor Series or something like that, with this heel turn with John Cena, that's fine. But I think it's only being done for SummerSlam because a lot of people, like I said, are making that comparison to Shawn Michaels and when he feuded with Hogan. It was only for a month because Hogan needed a bad guy to beat, at SummerSlam. So that's what they went with. And yeah, Shawn Michaels, may have purposely oversold a lot of Hogan's moves, and he's admitted to doing so. He only did it because he only did that because he had agreed that fine, if I gotta face Hogan, I gotta be the bad guy, and whenever he hits me with a move, I'm gonna oversell it to send the message of, hey, it's not about you anymore. So to me, I do understand and see why people make that comparison. So we'll see what happens. Again, it could be another Josh Alexander thing like in TNA, where Josh Alexander basically said, "Hey, I'll be a heel, but when I leave, I want to leave as a face." Could be a similar situation to that, but we'll see what they do. But again, the only people that know what's happening and they're keeping it very close to the vest are The Rock, Triple H, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, and the writing teams, the creative teams. They're the ones that know what's happening. Nobody else. Only a very few will be let in on something. Be let in on what's going on. And I can tell you right now, the announcers were let in on what happened. They were. They were let in what happened. Triple H, Rock probably pulled them aside, explained what was going to happen, and told them, act natural. Just act natural. Just be yourselves, act natural, basically act like you didn't see it coming. Let real emotion come out. And they did. Michael Cole let it come out. So, to me, I think they're the only ones that knew, outside of maybe some of the talent, of what was about to happen. But overall, yeah, overall, I will say this is a good moment for WWE to have. Depending on how long they run with it, it's going to be, up to them. Mostly up to Rock, John, Cody, Triple H, Brian Gewirtz, and their team. It's going to be up to them. And if it's only till SummerSlam, then that means they're giving him number 17. They're going to let him have a run with it. He's going to not show up as much with the championship and say, and I can see John saying, yep, the reason I don't show up as much is because this makes the title more prestigious, right? John control people. John in this heel mood could slowly go back to being the way we know him. Babyface John, but a little bit more of that attitude. Because he control people and say, what? You don't like the fact that the championship's not always around? I thought you wanted this championship to be prestigious. Basically, you could use John Cena in this role if you want to go to SummerSlam with him in this role. Not only is it troll his shield and all that, but also someone that's sending a message of, hey, look, I know you may have not liked certain things the way they were, but if you're a true wrestling fan, you'll accept things as they are. Just look at the positive, not the negative. That could be something they do with John. We'll see. But if it's only till WrestleMania, this heel turn, then yeah, it's a big momentous occasion. It's gotten people talking, but we also know it's being done to pass the torch officially from John to Cody. We know that. And for the second year in a row, it would have Rock get outsmarted. If you know what I'm saying. Now, there are reports that Rock is not going to be there after yesterday. He's on his way to Africa, I guess, to film another movie or something like that. And John Cena's not going to be on Raw. Now, when I read that report by Fightful, I'm thinking, why would John Cena want to be on Raw? This is a SmackDown story. That don't make sense. This is a SmackDown exclusive story. Why would John Cena want to be on Raw? Don't make sense. But then again, I could understand why they would think, what I'm trying to say is I can probably see why they think he would be on Raw or be scheduled for Raw, because it's the Raw after Chamber and there has to be explanation. And that's not going to happen. If he shows up on SmackDown, we'll find out tomorrow night. We'll find out tomorrow night if he's going to show up on SmackDown, give an explanation for what he did. Now, he could just go to silent treatment until a certain time, and then maybe in an interview just explain, look, I've always tried to be the hero, and the only time people are now happy to see me is when I was when I was last champion, and I wasn't, but that wasn't WWE champion or world champion. I was United States champion. He said people cheered me then because I wasn't near the WWE championship anymore. That's the only reason people cheered me. Not only because I did the open challenges and gave people opportunities, but mainly because I wasn't WWE champion anymore. They were happy for that. That's why they cheered me. And then you can bring up when that moment happens, that the only other reason they cheered me afterwards is because of nostalgic reasons, because I came back. And I'm only here once or twice a year. Whoop-de-doo. But then you can have him bring up what happened in the past and ask the question, where was all those cheering when I was here full-time as champion? Where was that? And you can have him bring up the fact that, look, yeah, maybe what I kept doing, the 5 moves of doom and all that, got annoying. He says, but guess what? That's what this business is about, and people need to understand. That's what this business is about. Being someone that, even though you might find cheesy and annoying, it's someone that's best for the business. And if you don't know too much about the business and you're just a fan, then just be a fan and enjoy it while it's here. That could be John Cena's promo, when he finally talks, or what he says in the interview when he finally talks, explaining his actions, something like that. Basically saying, look, people only cheered me when I was doing my last full-time here, when I was the U.S. champ, because I wasn't near the WWE title, and they only cheered me when I would only show up sporadically. So where was all this when I was here full-time as WWE champion? You can have him ask those questions and bring up valid point, and he would bring up valid points like, hey, where was all this cheering and support when I was the champion, WWE and world champion? What happened then? People would say I sucked. People would cheer. People would boo. It's like, what happened? Do they not understand the concept of who I was being, what I was representing? And then you can say, well, now I'm going to give them a reason to hate me. I'm going to give them a reason to boo me. And look, even Rock and Triple H have said it's a risk, that they're taking with John, because they know that maybe this is going to have the complete opposite effect. That instead of booing him, people are going to cheer him like, yes, this is the John Cena we've been wanting. Yes, yes, let's go Cena, let's go Cena. It's going to have the opposite effect. And by having the opposite effect, it's going to turn Cody heel by default. And it's not going to be anything that Cody did. It's just, it's a risk they're taking. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. But what gets me, though, is, or what gets, well, not me, but it gets anybody else, and I'm sure they're going to point this out, is how are you going to make this work if Rock's going to be in another country and doing other things, and John Cena's not scheduled to be at certain events? Because again, why would John Cena want to be on Raw when this is a SmackDown exclusive story? Just saying. And Rock's going to show up when Rock wants to show up. There's no doubt. WrestleMania, there's no doubt he's not missing Mania. He's not missing that. But, we'll see what they do. We'll see what comes into play, later on, because we still got a month to go, but a little under a month to go till WrestleMania next month, and that's a fact. We still got time to see where they take this. And but also I want to say this, and I do agree with somebody that mentioned this on Twitter. If you think this is on comparison, if you think you could compare this to Hogan, turning heel and becoming part of the NWO, look, this is a big industry This is a big industry-changing moment. There's no doubt, because nobody saw it coming. It's a big industry-changing moment. But it's not on par with Hogan. You see, John has not been a heel since about, 2020, like I said, since about, mid to late 2002? 2002? Did I say 2022 earlier? I do apologize for that. But he hasn't been a heel since 2002, mid to late 2002. He hasn't been a heel for at least over 23 years, 22 years. So for him to be back in this role, it's huge, because most of this generation that grew up with John Cena knew him as a face. They never knew him as a heel unless they go to the WWE Network and look at John Cena's first year in the company. Just saying. So, when people come out and they say that this is comparable to Hogan becoming a heel and joining the NWO, let's be honest. Hogan was a baby face for most of his career. Hogan was John Cena of my generation. I only knew Hogan as a babyface from basically 83, or in my case 84, 85, to 1996. That's as long as we've known him. And I want you to think about that. That was 13 years. 13 years he was a babyface. But what happened when we went to WCW? Yeah, fans were happy to see him. Fans were happy to cheer him. But over time they got tired of him, because now they were seeing what they hated about the New York-based wrestling company. This was a very loyal Southern-based WCW crowd that were happy to have Hogan, accepting him, glad to have him here, let him do his greatest hits and all that. But then over time, we're like, yeah, this is getting a little cliche, a little boring. Yeah, this is not, I think we've had enough, They wanted change. They wanted change. And you could tell that they wanted change when Vader would fight Hogan. Because just like with Undertaker in 91, and everything, we're getting cheers when, he beat Hogan, believe it or not, even though he was a heel. Fans were happy because, again, even the New York fans at the time were getting a little sick and tired of the shtick. They wanted it over with. They wanted it gone. Or they at least wanted a break from it. The same with the Southern crowd. That's why every time Hogan took on Vader, you could start slowly hearing cheers for Vader. Yeah. You can start slowly hearing cheers for Vader and everything. And unfortunately, Vader was gone from WCW due to an incident and everything that we all know of. But had he remained with the company, there's no doubt that had he been there when the NWO thing came around, he would have been a babyface big time. He would have been a top babyface that basically you could play up, the NWO being afraid of getting in the ring with, because they know they'd get their ass kicked. They know they'd get their ass kicked, but it never happened. Unfortunately, it never happened. Point point that I'm getting at is, after a time, even Eric Bischoff and all of them realized, look, this Hogan train, this Hogan money train we're on, is running out of steam. What do we do? When the NWO thing came to be, at first, yeah, they were going to go with Sting, but look, all due respect to Sting at that time, him turning heel and being part of the NWO, being part of this invading force, wouldn't have made a dent. You needed someone that could basically, make it work, that felt like, that always felt like he was an outsider, to the company. Like he just didn't belong. Like at first he fit in well, but then all of a sudden he started to lose the fitting. He started to, outgrow, the fitting, and he didn't fit anymore. You needed somebody to fill that void that represented what, Hall and Nash were doing. And insert Hogan, and the rest is history. And it made justifiable sense. And guess what happened? Even though fans booed Hogan for a while, and everything, because he was playing up being this big Hollywood shot and everything, guess what happened? Guess what happened? Over time, fans were cheering Hogan. Even when he was still big, obnoxious, annoying, self-egotistical heel, they were cheering him. They were cheering him. And even when they did the NWO Elite stuff and everything, the NWO Wolfpack Elite stuff, fans were, they still booed him, but they also started to cheer him. They started to warm up to him again because of the fact that, basically, they were getting sick and tired of what they were seeing with Ric Flair and all that, and they wanted something different. And they felt like, wait a minute, Hogan's different still. He's still Hollywood, but he's more cool. He's more reserved. He's more like smooth, if you know what I mean. And they started to gravitate towards him more. And off to the races we went. The point I'm getting at is, when you make a comparison to Hogan turning heel, yeah, that lasted for a while. That lasted for several years. About 3 years at most? 2.5 years at most? But they did it because they did it, and Hogan did it because, one, Hogan knew, and they knew they needed somebody that would, make that connection with where Harlan Nash came from, to make the NWO thing work. But also Hogan knew, and WCW and Bischoff knew, he needed a fresh coat of paint that, if, that once, applied, people would get behind. People would get behind, and then they would see that once again, Hogan was cool because once again, him going this route helped change the industry for the better. It did. It helped change the industry on all ends of the spectrum for the better. But here's the thing with John Cena, though. John Cena is a WWE guy. He's not from another company coming in and invading. Rock is a WWE guy. He's not coming in from another company and invading. These are guys that are basically trying to send a message in story that no matter how you try to act or believe yourself to be, you will always be, as long as you hold this championship, the WWE Championship, you're always going to be a corporate guy. You're always going to be a champion of the corporation, no matter what iteration it is, no matter what era it is. You're always going to be a champion of the WWE, of Endeavor, of TKO, what have you. That's the difference here. That's the difference here. Because basically they're not doing a hostile takeover. They're just sending a message that, look, whether they're sending a message in story to Cody, the way we see it, or the way we're being spoon-fed it, that Cody, you can act all the fine and everything, but the way you dress, the way you make appearances and all that, you are a corporate guy. And if you don't want to accept it, I'll find somebody else that will. And there you go. But again, for anybody that makes that comparison to Hogan, again, a lot of people didn't see it coming, true. But here's the difference. Hogan wasn't part of WWE when he did it. He was part of another company. So it made sense for him to do it. It made sense for him to do it because he felt like an outsider at that time. He did. So for Hogan to do it, it made sense. It worked. You know, for John to do it, yeah, it's going to work for a bit, whether it's to SummerSlam or WrestleMania at the earliest. It's going to work because what it also does is it sends a message that no matter how big of a star you are, no matter how long you've been a babyface, you know, and the de facto face of the company and all that, not even you are an exception to turning heel, to turning to the dark side. Not even you are that exception. And John doing what he did proved that. Proved that, if you will. That not even he, for as long as he's been a good guy, if you will, is acceptable from not turning to the dark side. And that's a fact. That's a fact. And last night proved it. Last night proved it. So, again, John's heel turn is impactful, but it doesn't have the impact that Hogan's heel turn did. The same with Austin. Austin aligning with McMahon at WrestleMania 17, guess what? Yeah, it was shocking. Kind of industry changing a bit. Nobody saw it coming. Guess what? Didn't have the impact that Hogan's did. It didn't have the impact that Hogan's did. And Austin's heel turn backfired. Because fans started to cheer him even when he turned against WWE and joined the alliance. People were cheering him. People were doing the what chant with him. So basically, attempts to keep him heel, even with a brief return to babyface and all that, then back to heel with the alliance, it blew up. It didn't work. There are certain people you can do it with and test it out with, and it works. Some you can't. Hogan, it worked. Hogan, they tested it out with, made it work. They knew they could make it work. Hogan knew he can make it work. Austin, looking back on it, admitted he tried to make it work, but couldn't. Austin's one of those guys you can't make it work with. Rock, you can make it work with. Cena, you can make it work with, maybe. It all depends on how long they go. Cody, he's already proven you can make it work with him. So there are people you can make it work with, and there are some people you can't make it work with. And that's just the reality. That's just the reality. So for anybody making that a comparison, you need to look at it this way. Hogan's heel turn, number 1. John's at number 2. Austin's at number 3 if you rank it in a top 3. That's how it's got to be viewed, in my opinion. And also I want to address this. People complain. This is Raja Girl on Twitter. They want to come out and say they're sick and tired of, and I think even Kevin Castle may have said this, but both of them at least. They say they're sick and tired, and maybe it's just them being, from an older generation and all that. But they're sick and tired of, Rock coming out for the second press conference in a row, and now even Triple H doing it. They're sick and tired of the fact of Rock. You see him one moment, he's on screen, he's acting all heelish, the final boss and everything. And then moments later, he goes to the press conference and he's back to being Dwayne. He's back to being, The Rock. He's just, not The Rock, but Dwayne Johnson, the person, not the final boss, not The Rock, not the, and all that. Some people say they're getting sick and tired of him basically breaking kayfabe, tearing the curtain down and everything. Or pulling the curtain back and everything when he goes to these press conferences and, explaining exactly why this is happening. Not giving anything away, but explaining why there's layers to the story, why this is happening, how long it's been going, da-da-da-da-da. Let me remind people of something, and it's something that a lot of people have said for at least several years, and even those in the industry have said it. Kayfabe and pulling back the curtain has been dead for years. It's been dead for years. And Rock, being in reality, a very genuine, understandable person who is for the people, is for giving fans what they want. He's also, he and Triple H both know that fans are smart enough now. They're smart enough that they don't need to look into places like Fightful or Wrestling Observer or WrestleVotes or wherever to figure out yeah, something is going to go in a certain direction, and everything. Let's just see what else they give us to kind of start piecing the clues together. They realize that basically, that fans are smart to the business. They're smart to the business, and they realize that fans only look into these insider outlets just to kind of help them clue in what they've already tried to figure out. So for anybody complaining about Rock doing that, he's doing that because he knows that the fans watching the press conference online, on YouTube, and on Peacock, he knows that they're smart enough to understand that everything people have said about the business, years ago about kayfabe being dead, breaking the fourth wall being dead, and all that, the curtain being torn to shreds years ago, that's all true. And then when you hear people like Rock, you hear people like Triple H and Austin and others saying that what you see on screen in that ring, yeah, it's an athletic event. Yeah, men and women put their bodies on the line. There's no doubt, to entertain us. But what you see there is a soap opera. What you see there is a Broadway play taking place in the middle of the ring in front of your eyes. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing people basically perform a Broadway play, a soap opera, a movie right in front of your eyes. And basically their stage for this happening in, or their location that they're making this happen in, is a 20 by 20 ring. That's what it is. So for anybody complaining about that, look, you have the right to complain, you have the right to be critical about it, but you need to remember, you got to remember that the reason Rock's doing this is one, yes, he spent a lot of time in Hollywood, so he's probably not realizing that you got to keep kayfabe still in wrestling. But two, Rock probably does realize that, but he also realizes that the fans that support the company, support the business as a whole, that they're smart enough to see that this is just another part of a story. And basically he wants to let them in on what's going on as to like how far it's come, and basically not give anything away, but give them kind of a hint, an Easter egg that there is more to come to this. There's going to be more layers added to it, and that you just got to tune in. And it's also his own way and Triple H's own way of basically saying, basically saying and quoting what Triple H said in the press conference at the Rumble, and even kind of followed up on in the press conference last night after Elimination Chamber, and that is nobody in the insider industry of wrestling, Fightful, Observer, WrestleVotes, Insider, you name it, none of them, Dr. Quake Featherstone, none of them know what's really going to happen. None of them know. And them doing what they're doing, saying those things, breaking the fourth wall down, if you will, tearing the curtain back, doing these press conferences, that's their way of not only letting the fans in on the fact that, hey, there's more to come. I'm not going to say what, you just got to tune in, but there is more to come. There's more layers to add in, to the story. But it's also their way of saying, yeah, Sapp, Meltzer, Johnson, Featherstone, WrestleVotes, you guys think you know, but you don't know. And that's a fact. That is a fact. So, for anybody that's upset about Rock doing that, and even Triple H to an extent, I think you need to realize, you got to realize that they're pretty much confirming that we're in on it. We know. The only catch is we don't know what's next. Okay? We don't know what's up the road right now. Only they do. And that all you guys can do now as paid outlets is just speculate and theorize yourself as fans. As fellow fans yourself. But yeah, overall the John Cena Hilton, I think it's going to work. Again, you got to also look at the keywords they said. It's a risk they're taking because they probably realize that this might turn the tables, against Cody, and Cody might end up being the de facto heel because of this. because this is something fans have been wanting for a long time with John. But but we'll see. We'll see what they do. We'll see how they handle it to try to keep him a heel to where fans will boo him and not cheer him, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting road in this, within this next month into Mania. And again, however long they go with this, again, only they know. They could go to only Mania, and like I said, it could get revealed that Cody was in on it the whole time, because John let him in on what was happening, and Cody just decided, hey, go with it, make Rock feel like he's got the advantage, he's ahead of me and all that. Go with, do that. And then for the second year in a row, we find out Rock got outsmarted and everything, and that Cody was in on it the whole time because John let him know. And that could lead to Rock and Cody at SummerSlam Night 2. We'll see. Or they could go and drag it to SummerSlam SummerSlam Night 2 where Cody gets it back, and then that's when you start the John Cena Redemption Tour to end his career as a babyface. That could happen too. Again, it's all up to what they have planned, and only they know what they're doing. So yeah, it's a big moment. Is it industry changing? To an extent, but not as industry changing and impactful as Hogan's was. Because again, Hogan was a WWE guy for most of his career, and only his second year with the company, what did he do? With WCW, what did he do? He turned heel because he was looked at exactly as the same way as Hall and Nash were, as outsiders that didn't belong. So there you go. Yes, it's industry changing. You can rank it maybe as the second biggest heel turn in wrestling history, but it pales basically in comparison. It and Austin pale, their heel turns pales in comparison to Hogan's. Let's be honest. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting ride, and we'll see what happens. Especially with Rock having to go here and there and such. We'll see what they have planned to work around that as we get closer and closer to Mania, because I think Rock's going to want to be there, for whatever they got planned for the next chapter and everything of the story arc going forward for the rest of 2025. Now, I will say this, though. One, Tony Khan, I think he's going to suffer probably the lowest ratings and viewership numbers across all of the WBD after last night. Tony Khan, unfortunately, and I say it with all due respect, Collision just got annihilated. They got obliterated. After last night with Elimination Chamber and that moment. They got obliterated. Those ratings, those views, down the tank. And all I'm going to say is this. Tony, good luck in this next month. Good luck in this next month, because you're going to need it. You're going to need it, because nobody's going to want to talk about Revolution. You might have some good matches there. Nobody's going to talk about that outside of maybe Paige and MJF. Nobody's going to want to talk about that outside of Paige, Edge, and MJF, and then maybe Christian cashing in and becoming champion, and that's it. Nobody's going to want to talk about that, because that's going to not matter in the grand scheme of things. It's not. It's pretty much, bye-bye. It's going to be like, did you know there's an AEW pay-per-view coming up on next week? Really? I did not know. I have no importance. I did not know that was going to happen. I'm more invested in this. That's what's happening right now, and that's what's going to happen afterwards. Because afterwards, people are like, did you see Revolution? Revolution? It was on? Yeah, it was on. I didn't know. I'm still thinking about what happened at Elimination Chamber. Tony, good luck. Like I said, good luck, because this is going to be a rough week for you. Well, not rough week, but rough month for you. It's going to be a rough year, the rough rest of the year, if not summer, if they extend this heel turn with John Cena up till then. So yeah, good luck, Tony. I think you're going to probably be in for a very rough patch. A very rough patch for, as far as Dynamite, Collision, and your pay-per-views are concerned. Unfortunately. But, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on all this. As far as John Cena's heel turn goes. Do you agree with everything I said here? Let me know down below in the comment section, as well as in the live chat if you haven't done that already. And do all the things, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel. Also, click on the links in the description to find my content anywhere here on the internet. Go to all your favorite audio and video podcast affiliates to find my content there. Go to iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Audible from Amazon, Spotify, Radio Public, Overcast. Wherever there is a podcast, you will find mine there as well. Also, find me at rumble.com at bwroses, odyssey.com at bwroses.5, VENMO.com at bwroses. Also, find me at my Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Also, support me over at patreon.com at bwroses. I will try to get some more content there that will be Patreon exclusive in the future. Be on the lookout for that. Also, support me using Cash App and Venmo. Also, you can find me and follow me at TikTok at bwroses, Twitter aka X at bwroses, and Blue Sky at bwroses. But guys, give me your thoughts on all things here that I have to say about the John Cena heel turn. How long do you think it'll go? And until next time, guys, I will talk to you all later. God bless. Take care.